I'm Thommy Davis, and you're with Baltimore Basics. Well, how I started off is kind of interesting. I used to go to clubs and jump in dance contests. So I was used to win a couple of them doing it. In some of Baltimore clubs that back in the day, we didn't have just DJ all night long. They would stop. We have dance contests. So we would jump in doing our Slippy Earls and all these kind of dances, and we would win these little contests, and that made me become a dancer. That started me right on the end of funk and disco. So that made me become a dancer, which made me be. Actually, it got me in the clubs. So I was a little nerdy little guy. So in order to be popular, you became a dancer. You could get in the clubs. So I could get in Odell's. I could get in all these other clubs because I was the guy that hustled and competed in dance circles and stuff like that. And from there, I just went from a dancer to being a DJ. As soon as mixers came out, back in the day, there wasn't mixers. A DJ didn't have a mixer, so we used to take one record and mix it. So when Newmark came out with a mixer, I was one of the first ones to go get one. And that's how I became a DJ in my bedroom with Christmas lights around and stuff like that. I think we all did that, but I did that. So how I got into music and production. In the early days, I went to work in a record store in Montgomery, which was at the time a kind of dangerous mall. This is before Rouse Company did it. So I would go in there and buy my records. Well, eventually the store manager hired me. He said, "You spending so much money on music, why don't you become a salesman?" Well, I became a salesman in 2 record stores and started becoming the perfect thing and invented this thing called a DJ salesman. So I had 2 turntables in there, and the people would come in and would say, "Hey, I heard this record last night. What is the record?" And I became really good at naming the record and also mixing it live in the record store. Well, that led me into production. Next thing you know, I got Sean Marshall, KDK, Miss Tony, DJ Spen, you name all the Baltimore people. They was all coming in. So one of the things that got me into production is I used to sell breakbeats. So for those who's not a DJ, a breakbeat is just the best part of a James Brown record, Bad Stucky or Sing Sing Just a Break, or these things that DJs needed so that they could make their records do little tricks. Well, from that, Spen came in one day and he was battling. He wanted a great battle for the DJ supremacy in the DMCs. And I asked him to come up. He was only like 16 then. And he came in the record store and DJ live. Well, before long, he gave me a cassette tape with this record called Get the Hold. And I pressed it from a cassette tape. And this record went national, like within a couple months. And then it went international. So at the same time while that happened, all of my little nephews, they're grown men now. They're all Booby and all of them are grown. Scotty B and all of them are grown. So what happened is that they started taking them breakbeats, and I would search all over the country looking for Doodle Brown, because it was out of print. So they knew they could come to me, and I would give them these records, and they started doing Baltimore Club. And next thing you know, we have a Baltimore club scene going on. So my former store was with Bernie, who was pressing Rod Lee and Boo Man and all that other stuff. So the Baltimore Club, it grew out, and it simultaneously, this is ironic, I did was with Basement Boys. So Basement Boys was created after we did that, and we did Alternate Tay and Crystal Waters and a whole bunch of stuff. So next thing you know, I'm on 3 majors at the same time. I'm on Warner Brothers, Mercury, MCA, and one thing led to another. We got nominated for American Music Awards, and this is a record store guy that never saw this coming. I just started doing what I'm doing now. I love this music, so they got me into production. So that's the early story how it happened. Until this day, Baltimore is now a house town because some of these people was there in the beginning, before the word house was even house. Because actually, I kind of helped push house in Baltimore because it was early. It was real early. Some of my best friends are in Chicago, and I would make sure that Baltimore had the same record Chicago had. So they was jacking your body and work it out, and you could hear it in our records. You could hear it in EAA, you could hear it in all of the records, because in order for our community to grow, they had to have these records. So I made sure they had them. And from Metro Stereo, we grew to 5 records, Metro Stereos. And then from Metro Stereos, I was tight with Scotty and Universal and Douglas, and we all became one community. And that kind of stuck with me, and I'm still doing that. I'm still doing this community thing. So one of the things that kind of worked for Baltimore and worked for me and Basement Boys and DJ Spen and a whole bunch of people from the musicians is that we got this sound in Baltimore. It's a hardcore, edgier sound. It's a little bit gospely. It's a little bit, and we, from the early days to now, with Quantize, with me and Spen, we constantly keep doing this sound, and it keeps going globally. And right now, I think we're number 1. So there's Quantize and Unquantized and Real Soul and Soulful Edge and Room Control and Solid Ground and Rejoice and Poggi and Metropolitan Soul and a gospel house, a new gospel house label coming out. So that is all in what we're doing right now, because we have turned it to like a Motown of sound, doing this soulful dance stuff. Some deep, some retro, but it's all right now. The number 1 record is a record that we redid over, totally over, from instruments to all the way with Tasha LaRae. It's called I Miss You. That was an Angie Stone record. Now it's like the biggest house record, and it's been number 1 for 3 weeks. So we still kind of do that thing. So the one true element out of it is that we keep doing it for the dance floor that we know. And in Baltimore, you can't fake it. They will walk off the floor, they will throw tomatoes. So we kind of make this peak hour stuff that'll work for anyone. First and foremost, I'm a recovering addict. So 20 years ago, I decided to stay true to the game. So like any Baltimorean, we learned from the streets the kind of hard way. So now I am a super born again Christian, doing major things. I mean, I've done 5 books. I published the first one. I am the governor for the Recording Academy, which is the Grammys. I'm also the ambassador for the Baltimore's chapter that this just happened a month ago. So I will be reaching out to all the artists in dance to do more in the Recording Academy. I'm also doing hands-on radio as a mix show. I have my first solo album coming out next month. The first time, most of the time I'm always in a group. I'm always one of the Jacksons. So this is my first Janet. So I'm glad because it's just me by myself as a solo project, and I think I've used all my friends. If I start naming them, I'm gonna miss one, but you know them all. They're all of my friends and musicians that have done stuff. So the world, I would really want to make sure that everyone knows that, you know what, you can recover. Baltimore, it might seem like the kind of place that you can't happen. You hear stuff about Baltimore. When I go around the world, people say, hey, is it like The Wire? It's like, no, it's not like The Wire. That's like asking me, do I know Michael Jackson? No, it's not. Baltimore is a great town. Some of the things that we are oppressed by is what makes you this resilient kind of person. I mean, if it wasn't for my experience in Baltimore, I wouldn't be the person I am today, reaching for things. I mean, there are awards, there are accomplishments that come out of strife. And anyone listening to me now, if you got music and you want to do something, hey, just hit me up. I'm Thommy Davis on Facebook. I'm Thomas Davis, and that's the goal of Quantize, is to be able to represent all people of all music. Because you know what, this too you can overcome.